Get comfortable, because today I'm going to tell you how I got fired in Switzerland. It's a beautiful, complicated, and long story, so make yourselves comfortable because we're getting started right away. First of all, though, I'm Spermy1 and welcome to my room here in Switzerland. As you know, for those of you who already follow me or know me, I moved to Switzerland in the last 6 months. I moved precisely in April, but I've actually been looking for a job around here since December of last year, maybe even since October. In the end, through connections, I managed to find a job, even though I actually had 2 or 3 other jobs that I had managed to find on my own. But since they seemed like great people to me and it seemed like a great place, and I also liked the area, I moved here. Besides, everyone spoke English. I'm in German-speaking Switzerland, near Zurich, actually, in the canton of St. Gallen, right on the border with the canton of Zurich. And here everyone speaks German, and if you don't speak German, it's very, very difficult to find a job, if not almost impossible. Impossible, maybe not. It depends on what you want. And in the industry, there are sectors where you can find work only in German, and there are sectors where you can find work even in English. In the restaurant field, it's easier. For those who don't know me, I am a chef, even though I don't necessarily have to do that for work. But I've been doing it for about 15 years. So I looked for a job in this field because here in Switzerland, to find a job, you need to be qualified in something. You can't look for something generic unless you've already been living here for a while and know how to go about it. Otherwise, it's absolutely impossible. Well, I found this job. By the way, there are also quite a few videos, starting with this one where I signed the contract, that explain to you more or less what kind of job it is, how it is in the restaurant field. It's a nice job, tough. It's a nice, challenging job, especially because it's their first time running a restaurant and they found themselves in a not so easy situation. We mainly work with numerous elderly people, such as Swiss seniors, who are very, very spoiled and really expect everything. And they also expect to pay little. So it's absolutely not easy to please them, especially for someone like me who has always worked with Italian cuisine, both in Italy and abroad, but in Italian places. Here, let's say Swiss cuisine is a bit different, a bit more particular, so the rules of Italian cuisine apply or not. So we had a few little problems. But that's not what ultimately led to my dismissal. As I told you, actually, at the beginning, I was fired. It's not easy to swallow. It wasn't even a sudden dismissal. My contract doesn't end now. For those who don't know, I'm recording at the beginning of September, but it ends on December 31st. So, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to me. Merry Christmas to me as I find myself in Switzerland without a job. And it's not easy. Guys, because this house here, and if you want to understand how big it is, you can see it in this video here. It cost me about 100 euros a month. Then I also have 160 euros for the garage to pay, plus other expenses, electricity, internet, etc., etc. So let's say that to live here, I spend at least 1,500 euros every month to 2,000 euros in fixed expenses, depending on the month, depending on what I have to do, and on gas, water consumption. So if I find myself jobless in 3 months, 6,000 euros have gone. For those who work in Switzerland who earn a salary from 5,000, 6,000 euros aren't that many. Can you manage to support yourself? Okay. But if you don't work, it's a real mess. It's really a big mess. I can't deny it. I don't want to hide from you that there have been some arguments between me and my boss, even if 1 or 2 of them ended quite peacefully. We found some solutions. But there have been a variety of many relatively minor small problems and issues that together led to this dismissal. Needless to say, these problems weren't just with me. There was another Indian chef working with me who was good, even though he was really heavy. I complain about it not in one video, but in many others, actually in various clips of some videos. Working there isn't easy. Just like he was a pain for me, he was a pain for the boss's wife, and so on and so forth. And obviously the boss isn't all roses and sunshine either. But let's be honest, no one pays you for an easy job, something he can do by himself. So working there is quite heavy, especially when sometimes he creates extra work for no reason because he doesn't know how to organize things well. And the main problem is that he is very stubborn. So even if you tell him it's okay, I'm 28 years old, but I've been working in the restaurant industry legally for over 15 years. No, that's not true, not true. He ignores your advice, causing issues, leading to being fired. Not because it's definitely bad advice, but it leads to having arguments, or at least having problems as a result. And this obviously leads to getting fired as a Christmas gift. Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. By the way, I think this video will come out around Christmas, towards the time when I will be out of work. So yes, indeed, I was fired, but I wasn't fired abruptly. Unfortunately, my boss ended my contract on December 31st, so starting January 1st, I will officially be unemployed. Why is that? Because I work in an area that is very seasonal. Okay, so we work a lot in the summer, let's say from April until the end of October. But even though in reality, until the end of September, we work a lot with some specific groups of people, let's say rich old folks, rich people, and so on. So they're not easy people. And when I signed the contract, at the beginning, there's this video where, if I'm not mistaken, I explain it. Anyway, go check it out. The talk was about having a continuous contract, so a permanent contract for 12 months, actually 13 monthly payments. Okay, there's also the 13th month in this sector. But then my boss saw that besides the fact that it's a new opening, so it takes a bit of time to get going, and on top of that, he wants to do half Indian cuisine and half Italian cuisine. And do people like this? But not enough. So there's not enough workload to guarantee a continuous contract. This led to him making me sign a termination, to me and also to the other chef, although the other chef was actually fired, and that's it. In the end, they argued and he had to leave. On August 31st, in the end, they argued once again, and he left practically on the 20th or the 22nd, I don't remember now. I was left alone with the boss's wife, who is helping me out. Well, somehow we're managing to keep things going with a few extra calls. But the problem remains. The fact is that from December to January, February, there's not a soul around here. People prefer to stay at home. It's cold. It's snowing. Anyway, he doesn't do any sports activities, and I work in a center that creates its business in the restaurant industry through sports activities. Okay, so since there aren't enough people doing it, there's nothing that justifies the opening of that place. And unfortunately, my boss knew all of this beforehand, but he was hoping to ensure continuous work thanks to the Indian cuisine. But that's not the case because the problem remains. Anyway, maybe they'll still work in December, January, February, but not enough to pay the salaries. And everything about all the people, because inside that place we work with 6 or 7 people. What did he do? He terminated the contracts of all the people working there permanently to turn them into seasonal contracts. He assured me that there will be work for me comfortably from March, April, or so, let's say. But it's a seasonal contract. What does this mean? It means that I only work the months that I actually work. Unlike other contracts, you get the 13th month salary, but it's spread over work months. If I work 10 months, I get paid for 10 months plus part of the 13th. For other months, I have 2,000 euros in fixed expenses to pay. A portion of the 13th month, okay. But in the other months, as I said, I have 2,000 euros of fixed expenses to pay. The 13th salary means using all my savings in 3 months, leaving nothing. It's seasonal, using all the money I've absolutely saved throughout the year, leaving me with 0 savings. Since it's a very seasonal area anyway, it's hard to find another job for the next 3 months. So it absolutely makes no sense for me to remain in this job and continue working seasonally. Yes, I could take 3 months off at all in this position. But not having money to pay for the house, I can't even afford a vacation, I can't afford anything. Besides, a seasonal contract doesn't have the same validity as a permanent contract. As a result, it doesn't make sense for me. I signed the contract termination. Reminding you, my contract was permanent since December. This termination, let's put it this way, this termination of contract, and I remind you that my contract was permanent since December. For this and other reasons, actually, due to discussions and things we didn't agree on, I also saw how the other cook was treated. I didn't like it very much, and I wouldn't want to be the next one, even though he was really quite a heavy person. So let's say that he kind of brought it on himself a bit. He deserved it. But then again, he's quite an old person, around 58, 60 years old. He's a person, so it's hard to change it. And my boss is also quite stubborn. He wants to do things his way. Even at the expense of the fact that the clients might not like it. So as a result, they didn't get along. And I also have a hard time fitting in, even though I can adapt. Anyway, if you want to do things your way, then unfortunately, you can't complain that there's no work. Okay. Besides that, the restaurant business, guys, is a business. And yes, sometimes you're lucky, you can do the restaurant business you want, but only at certain points. Okay. For the rest, you have to cook the things that people want to eat. If we are in Switzerland and here a person, an average Swiss, wants to eat carbonara with cream like a frittata, you have to do it like this. Otherwise, if you make it the normal way, the way it's done in Italy, he won't eat it. In fact, he'll even speak badly of you. And you end up losing a customer, you lose the revenue from those plates of carbonara, and you close up. And that's it. So yes, okay. Making carbonara, the style of carbonara as it's made in Italy. But first, we need to make sure that a place can move forward. Okay. Once the place gets going, you can then slowly change things. You can, let's say, educate people about the cuisine, etc., etc. For example, guys, carbonara with cream is good. It's a nice dish, but it's not carbonara. Okay. Call it egg and cream. Okay, fine, call it that. But it doesn't suck as a dish. You just can't call it that. A carbonara is not a carbonara. So consequently, either you adapt to working in this way here, or otherwise, one, you remain without a job. Two, risks that then you can't get home and you can't bring it to Baraka. And three, you have to adapt, period. So my decision was to accept this layoff. Also because I didn't have much choice. It was either yes or yes, and as a result, I'm looking around for something else. Also because unfortunately, I can't stay here with a seasonal contract. As much as I like the idea, because I can have 3 months to dedicate to YouTube, a seasonal contract, for me at the moment, it's quite impossible, especially in German-speaking Switzerland, where the minimum fixed expenses are at least 2,000 francs. And this is excluding food. This is excluding food, because right now I'm eating out 5 days a week. If I have to include food for an entire month, let's say at least around 2,500, maybe even more. If I maybe always save money, never eat out, never do anything, so around 2,500. And you also understand that I earning at the moment around 364,000, 364,000, 364,000, 364,000, 3,000. I can't afford to stay home for 3 or 4 months because my boss made a mistake and decided that it's not okay. The limited contract, he wants the seasonal contract. He looks out for his own interests. I have to look out for mine. All right, guys, this is the story of how I was laid off. Alas, unfortunately in Switzerland, even though it was a sort of agreed layoff, I wasn't very sure if I wanted to stay or not, and in the end, maybe it's for the best. I'm just looking around actually after I was let go from my job. We also had a bit of a falling out. Okay, for various reasons. So in reality, I quit my job myself. I also preempted the layoff, but I'll tell you about this in the next video. In the video where I quit my job in Switzerland because I just couldn't take it anymore. This will probably be one of the videos that comes out after this one, so make sure to check it out. And that's the whole story in itself. It was a pretty quick thing. It's a signed document that I should have, by the way. This is the part where it says the end of the contract. In the end, I also stayed on good terms with him because I wasn't really sure I wanted to either. Staying for various dynamics, various things that were happening at work. I don't want to get into the details, but mainly since a seasonal job isn't 3 months. When cold, people avoid sports. This should be considered before stopping my permanent contract, because when it's cold, people don't go out to do sports. And this should have been taken into account before they made me stop a permanent contract. Also because it's obvious that if I can't support myself, I have to look around. It's obvious. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. These things happen in the workplace and are quite common. In fact, more often than not, people get laid off, but it's better this way because if you want to grow here, you have to look around, and it's the only way to really grow here, to always have better and more, especially in terms of money. And what do you think? Did I do the right thing by accepting this layoff or not? Do you think I did the right thing or not? Should I have stayed? Accepting a seasonal contract? Work only those 10 months. Or not? Knowing that I would also like to take YouTube as a serious job, even if I can't afford it yet, as a potential career path currently. Well, write me what you think below and I thank you and say goodbye. Please like, share, subscribe, because most of you who follow my channel are not subscribed. This way you can get all the updates on what's happening. I thank you and say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Actually in the video where I tell you why I quit. Actually, I anticipated my layoff. Hi. Thanks.